What is confidence? A lot of times we see guys go to one of two extremes. Either the in your face, like, I'm great. Let me tell you why I'm great.
Yep.
I'm just the coolest guy there is. Or, I don't know why I did it in that voice.
I know, it's a good voice.
Or we have people who very much are insecure, very much like just trying to blend in, try to be like everybody else. Don't attract attention to yourself.
I think of politicians, kind of put their finger in what way is the wind blowing? Okay, that's my opinion today.
Yeah.
And their opinion changes. A lot of people live their lives in that political thing. And a lot of times at work, you can think about people you work with who are very political in everything they do. And that's usually that extreme.
Yeah, no, that's very true. But confident guys fall into a different category.
Yeah.
They're not showy. They're not trying to tell you how great they are.
Yeah.
But they're also not trying to be you. They're not trying to fit in with you. They're not trying to fit in with everybody else. They're in this zone where they know who they are. So the question is, how do we become confident in our life?
Yeah.
Is it saying affirmations over ourselves? Is it making large money?
Yeah.
Is it,
a lot of people think it's that.
oh, once I get to this famous, I'm great.
Yeah.
The truth is it's none of that. Growing in your confidence comes from working and making progress in a specific area of your life. And we're going to talk about what that is today on the show.
This is the Thriving Man Podcast with David and Reese Maxwell. These weekly shows are designed to help you remove the confusion from your life and make real progress with your growth. No matter where you are or where you're going, we're here to help you live a life you can be proud of. So welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast.
Welcome to the Thriving Man Podcast, where our goal is to help you get out of survival mode and into living a life you can be proud of. I'm Reese.
And I'm David.
And today we are discussing the word confidence and the means of getting confidence, which is a key word that we'll get to in just a second.
Yeah.
The truth is building your confidence kind of sounds weird because we often think of it as a personality trait. Confidence is either something people have or they don't. Like a confident guy, is like the guy we talked about earlier who's very much into himself. But it's not necessarily the case. Confidence can get built over time. It's not a personality trait.
It's true. And it makes me think of, I've got a neighbor who started a few months ago a building project where it looked like we were trying to figure out what is he doing. He had big equipment and he was putting a pool in. And we're like, okay. So he wants to have a pool. Well, he knew he was going to build a pool before we did because he had the vision for it. He was building it up. Well, now he's built the pool, but he's also like cemented all the backyard. He's got this big deck going up. He's got a giant chimney going up in his backyard. And we're all like, what in the world is he doing? We don't know it, but he knows what he's doing and he's working toward an end. And I think when men grow in confidence, we see them growing in different things that they have a vision for, that they get better at. And I think that's something we have to recognize, that we can do that. We can build confidence into our life. It's not a personality trait. It's not something that some guys have and some guys don't. That's just their personality. But every guy can get better and grow more confident if he's willing to put the work in.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely true. And we can do things to grow our confidence really all through this key word, courage. Courage is the pathway to confidence.
It is.
Courage is the pathway to confidence. People who are confident get that way through courageous action.
Yeah.
That could be they had the courage to try something new. Or actually, it probably does mean that at some point.
Yeah. Well, you think of like Apple. They came out with the smartphone.
Yeah.
There had been cell phones before that. There had been, MP3 players.
Right.
And Apple said, let's put it together and make a smartphone that's basically a computer. And when it came out, everybody was just like, what in the world? Little did they know they would literally change the world. In fact, I just saw a statistic recently, 70% of people around the world have some form of smartphone now. They have more smartphones than toothbrushes.
Nuh-uh.
That's what the stat said. I don't know. They said that more people have a smartphone than a toothbrush. I don't know if that's true, but I know that when I went to some third world countries, it was easier for them to put up cell towers than it was to run cables for phones. So the whole country had smartphones because it was a lot easier.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I've never thought of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, to bring it back to the point, they took a step no one had done.
Yep.
And they didn't know if it was going to work.
Yeah.
In fact, people doubted it because they were like, you don't have a keyboard.
Yeah.
Nobody's going to want to press on a screen as their keyboard.
Yeah.
It's because it is true. It's way less accurate than pressing on actual keys.
It is.
So everyone was like, it's not going to work. But they did it anyway. Now the world's different. And, confident men are the same way. They're able to do something new, something different, even if that's just something different for themselves.
Yeah.
Because they have courage. The courage to keep going when other people give up.
Yeah.
Another word for that would be grit. People who are willing to keep putting in the work day after day when other people give up, that's its own form of courage.
I think of people, a lot of times you hear people who did something famous and they talk about, I was doing this when nobody else was around. Nobody believed in me, but I kept going. It's that grit we talked about, but that is a form of courage because they have the courage to keep going at it.
Yeah, exactly. Or the courage to stick with their values instead of running away. Or here's another one, the courage to learn from their failures instead of running away from that.
Yeah, well, if you hear the stories of businessmen, many of them who've become multi-billionaires, they want to talk about their failures. Yeah, I tried this business and went bankrupt. I tried that business and went bankrupt. And I did 2 others. But then that 4th or 5th or 6th business was the one that blew up. And within that, you think, God, most of us would have stopped after 1.
Yeah.
We'd have been like, well, I failed. That's it. And these guys just, okay, I failed. What am I learning? How can I apply it to the next level?
Yeah. If we want to become more confident, it takes courage.
Yeah.
Courage.
It really does.
If you never show courage, you cannot develop confidence. Because confidence is not the same thing as narcissism.
No.
Confidence is not being in love with yourself.
Yeah.
It is an awareness that you are a person who has the courage to do what needs to be done for as long as needs to be done, and you're not going to give up along the way. Confidence doesn't fuel courage. I think a lot of people make that misunderstanding.
Yeah.
They think, well, I can't take action until I feel confident enough to do it.
Yeah.
It's just not true.
Yeah.
Action precedes confidence. Courage precedes confidence. Confidence is the result of a life lived with courage.
Yeah, and you see that in people's lives. They had the courage to maybe do something someone else didn't do. They had the courage to stick to something that other people wouldn't do. And that courage gave them the confidence to say, okay, I can do this. We think of professional singers. They started singing when they weren't professionals. They did the training. They started singing at little places, which became bigger places. And then one day they're doing stadiums. Well, where did they get the confidence to sing in a whole stadium of, 80,000 people? Well, it started from the courageous decision to sing in front of 10, to sing in this little off-the-wall place. And what they did was they're building up their confidence because they're facing their courage. They're moving to that next level.
Yeah, courage is the pathway to confidence.
It is.
It really is. It's almost like the fuel of confidence.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because the truth is, every singer, like you referred to, has done a bad show.
Oh, yeah.
Every single one of them has had a screw up.
Yeah.
And they probably still do from time to time.
Yeah.
But they don't let that shatter them because they have built the confidence of like, I'm the kind of person that sticks with it.
Yeah, it's funny. I just saw a thing recently where somebody posted a video of Kelly Clarkson singing someone else's song. And the whole funny meme of it is once Kelly sings your song, it becomes her song. Because she's such a good singer that everybody's just like, okay, she took the song that, Billie Eilish, someone sings and sang it better. And where did Kelly get that? Well, you go all the way back. She was on the first American Idol.
Yeah.
And she built that confidence up. Now, she has a phenomenal talent, but she also sang a whole lot and she practiced a whole lot. And that's how she got that good. And we see that in people.
Yeah, and I think we've got a lot of guys out there who don't feel confident because they've never displayed courage.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example that isn't necessarily the ideal, but it's funny. I was talking with this girl who, she's not ugly.
Yeah.
She's married, and her and her husband are good friends of Emily and I. And she saw this dude walk up in the gym, walk up to a woman on the treadmill, start trying to spit game.
Yeah.
And he asked her out. She said no. And he was like, okay. And then he comes over and walks to her and does the same thing.
No way.
Yeah. He starts saying, not the exact same lines, but he starts trying to get her number. And this dude was in high school. And she was like, I'm married. Two, I'm like 8 to 10 years older than you.
Yeah.
No. He's like, okay. And then he just moves on. This dude, it's not the good kind of confidence.
Yeah.
But the reason he's confident with these women and he can take a no is he's probably been told no a lot of times, but he's been told yes sometimes.
Yeah.
Same thing with like a salesman.
Yeah.
There are these salesmen that seem just emotionally invincible.
Yeah.
It's because they've heard so many no's.
Yeah.
They don't care anymore.
Yeah.
They're like,
gotten
hey,
immune to it.
I'm gonna help somebody eventually.
Yeah.
They've taken a pathway of courage that has built that confidence.
Yeah.
That can happen in unhealthy ways, as we discussed with the dude just randomly asking anyone out. But it happens with good things too.
Yeah, it makes me think. That's just hilarious to go into the gym and think, okay, any good-looking woman, I'm going to ask for the number. I mean, after a while, you're like, I mean, if I was the gym owner, I'd be like, dude,
get out.
Okay, get out.
Yeah.
You're not helping me.
Yeah, for real. But it's the same. What courage is it is a process.
Yeah.
Courage is a process that builds your confidence in whatever area you may be dealing with. And so that's what we're trying to tell you guys is if you are feeling a lack of confidence, there probably has not been a path of courage.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to find that path and you want to bring that courage into it because it's the only way to build that confidence up. You can't will confidence. You can't just, okay, I'm going to be confident. You have to build it up. And that's what courage does. It gives you that foundation to build that confidence on.
Yes. Now, we don't want to neglect the fact that being a emotionally strong and emotionally healthy person does contribute to being more courageous.
Yeah.
Because it certainly does. Yeah. And I mean, after all, we're in our emotional health month right now. We're in this emotional strength building. And the courage is built upon a foundation of emotional health.
It is. It's the result of emotional strength. As you get stronger emotionally, you will gain more courage.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. And the confidence will come after that. Because when you become, someone who emotionally is stronger, then those outside forces don't change you as much.
Yeah.
And it gives you the courage to maybe even stand up to them, to say, okay, I'm not going to let that influence me. I'm going to do the right thing when maybe other people do the wrong thing. And that's the thing we have to remember, that as your emotional strength goes, as you get better emotionally in different areas, your courage will naturally blossom out of that.
Yeah. I mean, to look at an example from the younger days, a lot of times just by looking at the behavior of a kid in school, you can tell if they grew up in a good home or not.
Yeah.
Because of their behavior. Yeah. They're either they have more confidence, they're more outspoken, they're more willing to make mistakes because they grew up in a place of security.
Yeah.
Right? That same principle applies to us in our everyday.
Yeah.
If we are insecure, it will hamper our courage.
Yeah.
I think of, let's do social anxiety. That's a big thing today. A lot of people say they have social anxiety. And I think social anxiety, the truth is, people feel that personal insecurity.
Yeah.
And they carry that into every conversation they have.
Yeah.
And so they're overthinking. They're thinking about how they look. They're thinking about what that person thinks about them. You've said it before, doing other people's thinking for them.
Yeah.
There's that insecurity that comes in.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of people, they look at the insecurity as, I'm just being weak. When it may be there's areas in your life that you need to confront.
That's a good
and
differentiation.
Build courage over, and then you can move past that. We don't do it for others, but others will notice the change in us. And that's what we have to understand, that our emotional strength is something that as it changes, we will naturally become more courageous.
Yes.
It doesn't mean your personality is going to change. It doesn't mean you're going to go from, being a guy who never says anything to being the life of the party. Okay, that's a personality thing. But you'll be a guy who can be at the party and not be scared of, what's everybody thinking of me?
Yeah.
What is this?
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah.
And that's what we want to do, is understand that your courage may look different from someone else's, but it's still courage. Mm-hmm. It's still the things you've built up, which will naturally give you that confidence, where in the end, you just won't care as much what people think of you. You won't worry about it as much.
Yeah, inward courage always precedes outward courage.
It does.
And that's where security comes into the picture.
Yeah.
Security is not some static state. Mm-hmm. It's dynamic.
Yeah.
And a lot of it results from how you do your self-work. That's
Yeah.
why we always say here, success is inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to begin to find that success inwardly before your behavior, and you can apply that success outwardly. Courage is the same way. If you have the courage to deal with your insecurities, if you have the courage to build your own emotional strength, it serves as a foundation, really a launching pad for you to be more courageous in your social life, for you to be more courageous in your relationships with other people or your behavior that other people can observe. A lot of it starts with that inner development of security.
Yeah, and that'll apply into every area of your life. Your relationships. You'll have better, deeper relationships because of your courage. Your job. You'll be a better worker, a better boss. You'll be better, and probably it'll be easier for you to get the promotions, to get, accolades, to do those things well, because you've grown in that courage, because your emotional strength is going. And that's where we have to see there is a benefit. And it's not just a benefit where you can look in a mirror and feel good about yourselves.
Although that is nice.
Yeah, it's good. But you'll have a much better marriage when you are emotionally strong. You'll be a much better parent. Like if you want to be a dad that's a really connected dad with your kids, it starts with your emotional strength. And when you do that, it gives you the courage, which will give you the confidence to be able to approach kids. Because I've seen parents, I worked with them for a long time, and they're nervous around teenagers.
Yep.
And it's like, you're the adult. But they I want the kids to like me. I want to be the cool mom. Okay, stop.
Yep.
You're an adult. They don't want that. And so what you're seeing is that adult's insecurity coming out around the other kids. They're not confident because there's maybe some things in their life they need to confront and deal with and move through.
Yeah, I think that's so true. And I think that's why, guys, I know a lot of us are about results. That's the results.
Yeah.
When you do the inner work that you can't really see and put your finger on quite as easily, the outer things begin to almost take care of themselves.
Yeah, they do.
They begin to be transformed. And so behavior comes from ultimately your identity. Your self-view. And so when you have the courage to work and develop your own identity, then that results in behaving differently.
Yeah, and a lot of people, they think, I'm just going to change my behavior. Well, that's very hard to do if you're not changing yourself. Because your behavior, like you said, is an outflow. So if you're not getting inside yourself and figuring out, why am I doing this? How come I blow up at people? How come at work I'm moody? Why are these things happening? If you're not willing to deal with that, which means you got to have the courage, like we said on our last episode, to be honest, to be willing to do it, to be active. Those things come out of you having that courage to do it.
Yeah.
And then the confidence will come from that. But a lot of people don't even see that.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to say, it is a synergistic relationship. It's a mutually beneficial relationship from what you do outwardly and the work you do inwardly.
That's true.
Let's go back to the example of the person with social anxiety. It would be best if they hit it from two different angles.
Yeah.
One angle is the inward work.
Yeah.
How do I view myself? Whether that is, if it's severe, counseling is a good path because it helps you do inner work.
Yeah.
If it's not very severe, but they just want to kind of fine tune it, maybe a book like Winning the War in Your Mind or something like that, that causes you to do reflection. So there's the inner work.
Yeah.
But then there's also the outer work.
That's
like
true.
we said, confidence is a result of courage in action.
Yeah.
Courage is a active thing. So maybe they read the book, maybe they go to the counseling or whatever that may be. And at the same time, they begin to practice putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
Maybe that is talking to the clerk at the grocery store and asking them how their day was.
Yeah.
Maybe that's reaching out to an old friend from high school that they just were like, oh, they don't care about me anymore. You know, maybe it's talking with them.
Yeah.
Maybe it's if you go to church, actually walking into the cafe area and saying hi to somebody.
Yeah.
Those are very real steps of courage
Yeah.
if you're a very introverted person who's scared around people.
Yeah.
And those begin to complement each other.
They do. They
Those
move
begin
together.
to help each other.
Yeah. And that's what we have to see, that as a man, one thing's not going to just fix everything.
That's true. Yeah.
But the one thing will lead to the second thing, which will
Yeah.
lead to the third thing. And that's what we're very much about the journey. We're very much about life as a journey. Your growth is a journey. It's not just you reach the finish line and you're done. You're going on an adventure. And when it comes to your emotions, when you get better at one area, well, then it gives you the courage and strength to maybe get better at another area and to move in those areas. And then you begin to get a depth as a man that a lot of men today don't have. You know, people complain about men aren't deep today. Well, it's because we don't call them out to the deep areas. You know, we think, well, men back in the past used to write the books. They were the philosophers and all that. Well, that's because we make fun of men. We call them toxic. We pull away their power. When what we want to do as men is we have to be willing to go emotionally into ourselves. Then we become deeper, and then we apply that depth to everything we do in life.
Yeah. A good way to describe that is putting down roots. Like, you know, a tree has much deeper roots than a weed does.
Yeah.
And we've got a lot of people who haven't developed the roots, so they haven't experienced the growth that they want to.
Yeah.
And courage is the same way. Courage inward is like the roots.
Yeah.
Courage, I mean, last week we talked about developing awareness. That is a form of inward courage.
It is. It's huge.
It's hard. It's hard to do. We talked about it last week. Facing reality hurts.
Yeah.
That's deeper roots.
Yeah.
But deep roots result in a tree that can go higher.
Well, and as a man, if you face that inward, you become more aware, then it gives you the confidence to approach those other areas of your life. It gives you the confidence to say, okay, because I was this way, I've never had a good relationship. But now that I've gotten better, I have more confidence in my relationship. I can be more transparent. I can be more intimate. That means I'm going to have a deeper relationship.
Yes.
You know, even if you've blown the past, you know, maybe you've gone through a couple marriages and you say, okay, before I get married again, I'm going to do this work on the inside. And then you bring that confidence to the next relationship and it changes everything.
Oh, yeah. It 100% will.
Yeah.
So, honestly, we're obviously very passionate about this topic.
Yes, yes.
And so we're going to need to split this topic into 2 weeks.
Yeah,
So we'll cover the second half of how to develop courage, how that works, and how it can affect your life next week. We'll see you then on the show. We're excited about that. But for now, do some of that inward work.
Yeah.
Go back and listen to last week. Think about the relationship between awareness and courage. And next week, we'll give you some more steps to continue developing so that you can live a thriving life.
Thanks for listening to the Thriving Man Podcast. If you want to check out more resources from David and Reese, you can go to thrivingman.com. We'll see you in the next episode.